The Leinster rugby team has always been a powerhouse in European rugby, but recently they've evolved into something more formidable. This isn't just another good rugby side, this is a well-oiled machine, operating on a higher level, and the rest of Europe has started to take notice. What makes this new Leinster side so dangerous? It's a combination of things: talent, depth, leadership, and a tactical approach that borders on perfection. It's no longer just about winning, it's about dominating in every facet of the game. Sit up and let's take a deep dive into what makes the current Leinster team one of the most feared in European rugby today. An evolution of play. Leinster has always been a well-drilled team, but they've taken their game up several notches in recent seasons. Under the guidance of head coach Leo Cullen and his assistants, particularly Stuart Lancaster, the team has become tactically sophisticated. The most noticeable improvement is their speed of play. Leinster doesn't give their opponents a chance to catch their breath. Their passing game is crisp, their lines of attack are sharp, and their decision-making is instant. They don't just rely on brute force to beat their rivals, they play with intelligence and precision. Another hallmark of this Leinster side is their ability to adapt mid-game. Whether they're ahead or behind, they always find a way to adjust their strategy to what's happening on the field. Opponents can't afford to get comfortable because Leinster will find a weakness and exploit it over and over again. Depth, the never-ending pit of talent. If Leinster's squad were a house, it would be a mansion with too many rooms, and each room would be filled with world-class talent. Teams dread injuries, but Leinster? Nah, they treat it like a minor inconvenience. A star's got injured, no worries. Enter another star like Caelan Doris, Leinster's not-too-secret weapon. He's been stepping up and dominating in the back row, showing why he's considered one of the most well-rounded players in the game. Like a cheat code hidden in plain sight, Doris has become the steady hand Leinster can rely on to lead the charge. And it's not just Doris. This depth runs all the way through the squad. It's like they've cloned their best players and no one else got the memo. Leinster's backups are like that friend who's secretly good at everything. Annoying, right? You lose one and there's always another waiting to step in and be just as good, if not better. Caelan Doris, the relentless dynamo. Caelan Doris is a relentless force on the field, combining athleticism with intelligence. Whether he's making those crucial carries, putting in big tackles, or contesting at the breakdown, Caelan is always in the thick of the action. His ability to read the game and cover every inch of the pitch makes him invaluable to Leinster's success. Need someone to turn defense into attack? Doris will do it without breaking a sweat. He's not the flashy type, he lets his actions do the talking. He's the kind of player who thrives in high-pressure situations, often stepping up when Leinster needs him most. His physicality, paired with his rugby IQ, allows him to dominate both defensively and offensively. It's why many see him as the future leader of Leinster's pack, a player who leads by example and sets the tone for the team. Leinster's management has carefully developed Doris into one of the top back row players in Europe. His consistency, leadership, and relentless work rate make him one of Leinster's most dependable and influential players. The back row monsters, Van der Fleer and Snyman. Imagine you're playing a video game and you have to defeat the final boss. Now imagine that final boss is wearing a Leinster jersey. That's pretty much what it's like facing Josh Van der Fleer and RG Snyman. You want to tackle them, but it feels like they're equipped with some invisible forces. Van der Fleer, the reigning World Rugby Player of the Year, is everywhere. He's like a shadow, always there, making life miserable for the opposition. Seriously, how many batteries does this guy have? He's the rugby player equivalent of that friend who's always just going for a quick 5k run while others are still trying to catch their breath. Then there's RG Snyman, a mountain of a man with an unbelievable rugby IQ. His physicality alone is intimidating, but it's his understanding of the game that makes him a nightmare for opponents. Together, Van der Fleer and Snyman form a duo that no one wants to face. Two players who combine raw power with brilliant rugby minds, crushing anyone who gets in their way. The front row of destruction: Furlong, Porter, and Sheehan. If you think the back row is terrifying, terrifying? Wait until you meet Leinster's front row. These guys aren't just rugby players, they're human wrecking balls. Tag Furlong? He's basically a bouncer who also happens to be able to offload like a scrum half. Seriously, it's not fair that someone his size can be that agile. He's like a grizzly bear who decided he wanted to play rugby, and who's going to tell him otherwise? Then you've got Andrew Porter, who's basically a giant with the mobility of a cat. He was a tight head, then he decided to switch to loose head because, why not? And Dan Sheehan. This hooker doesn't just throw the ball into lineouts, he's out here running like a centre, busting tackles and scoring tries. Who needs backs when your hooker is faster than half the team? The flair of the backs. If Leinster's forwards are tanks, their backs are fighter jets, equally destructive but way faster. James Lowe, for example, isn't just a winger, he's a one-man demolition crew. He's got the power of a forward and the finesse of a ballerina. Watching him charge down the wing is like watching a rhino on roller skates. You're just not sure how he does it. And then there's Gary Ringrose, Leinster's secret weapon in the centre. Ringrose is that player who reads the game 2 steps ahead of everyone else, like he's been reading the opposition's playbook before the match. Whether he's shutting down attacks or gliding through defences like butter, Ringrose is as smooth as they come. Don't forget Hugo Keenan at fullback. This guy's the perfect mix of Mr. Reliable and Mr. I'm about to score on you. He's fast, composed, and always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Opponents kick the ball his way at their own peril because you can bet he's running it back with interest. Mental toughness, Leinster's secret weapon. If talent was the only thing Leinster had, they'd still be one of the best teams in Europe. But it's their mental toughness that really puts them in the scary category. They've had their hearts broken in the Champions Cup before, but instead of crying into their protein shakes, they've come back stronger. They play with this "we're not here to make friends" mentality, which is the polite way of saying they'll crush you without breaking a sweat. When you're playing Leinster, you don't just need skill, you need nerves of steel. They're not going to gift you any easy points, and even if you think you've got them on the ropes, they'll hit back twice as hard. It's like trying to beat your older sibling at a game. They've seen all your tricks before, and they're not impressed. Leo Cullen, Stuart Lancaster, and Jacques Nienaber, the masterminds. Of course, none of this would be possible without the men behind the curtain. Leo Cullen and Stuart Lancaster. Cullen is like that teacher who everyone respects, but also secretly fears because he's just so good at what he does. He's a Leinster legend, and he's turned the team into a well-oiled machine. And then there's Lancaster, the tactical wizard. He's taken Leinster's game to the next level. Under his watch, Leinster plays rugby like they're solving a puzzle that only they know how to complete. Lancaster doesn't just coach rugby, he coaches chess, but with tackles and lineouts. Leinster has now added another weapon to their arsenal. Jacques Nienaber, a 2-time World Cup winning coach. Nienaber's defensive expertise is already starting to show. With his experience and knowledge, especially in big games, Leinster's coaching staff is now the most formidable in Europe. Cullen, Lancaster and Nienaber form a coaching trio that's every bit as dangerous as the players on the field. Leinster's Academy, the talent factory. Leinster's Academy is like a talent vending machine. Insert some coaching and out pops a world-class player. The production line is almost comical at this point. Every time you think that they're about to have a dip in form, another young star comes through, ready to make an impact. It's like they've found a secret for developing rugby players. Ryan Baird, Dan Sheehan and Harry Byrne are just a few examples of the conveyor belt of talent. These guys are so good, you forget they're not grizzled veterans. Leinster doesn't rebuild, they reload. And that's what makes them so terrifying for everyone else. Leinster isn't just a good rugby team, they're a rugby empire. They've figured out how to mix brute strength with tactical brilliance and sprinkled in some good old-fashioned mental toughness. And just when you think they've reached their peak, they go and get even better. For everyone else in European rugby, playing Leinster is like signing up for a marathon against a sprinter. You're just hoping to keep up, but for Leinster, this is business as usual. Want to stay ahead of the game and not miss a beat? Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay updated with all the latest on Leinster rugby. From matchday breakdowns to exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes access, we've got it all. Drop a comment below and join the conversation. Are Leinster the greatest team in European rugby history? See you in the next video.